Koi presents The Monsters of Kampala. A Koi original series written by Joel Gunayaka. Produced by Einem Babazi Miracle. Chapter 5, The Ruse. Over the next week, Nyeko and Amina began meeting secretly, laying the groundwork for their plan in private, each step carried out with the utmost caution. Amina's access to Tadeo's circle proved invaluable. She fed Nyeko snippets of information that painted a clearer picture of Tadeo's empire. Accounts of his hidden bank transfers, whispers of his political allies, and details about his inner circle. This was more than Nyeko could have hoped for. Tadeo's empire had cracks. He and Amina intended to widen them. One evening, in the basement of an abandoned warehouse, Nyeko met with Sarah, the journalist, to update her on the plan. Nyeko? Sarah said, her tone serious as she flipped through a small leather notebook. We have a problem. I've been digging into Tadeo's financials, and it's worse than I thought. My sources stated to me clearly that his money flows through shell corporations and offshore accounts, each one more complex than the last. Even if we expose his empire, he'll see us coming a mile away unless we get him in a compromising position. What do you suggest? Nyeko asked, his face lit by the faint glow of a streetlight across the fence. Sarah smirked. We set a trap. There's an auction coming up. One of Tadeo's so-called charity events where money changes hands under the guise of compassion. It's happening this Friday at the Serena Hotel, and it's the perfect place to make our move. But we'll need a way in. Nyeko nodded thoughtfully. And we have one. I can get us into that auction. With your help, we can expose what's really going on there and get the evidence we need. Sarah's gaze sharpened. Let's hope this could work. But understand, Nyeko, if Tadeo catches on, he'll retaliate, and he'll go after all of us. Nyeko clenched his jaw. I've waited too long for this, Sarah. I'm not turning back now. Besides, I promised Amina that I would bury this traitor, so if you excuse me, I have a meeting with a tailor. The night of the auction arrived, and the grand ballroom at the Serena Hotel was a glittering sea of Kampala's elite. Chandeliers cast a golden light over the crowd, illuminating the powerful figures who had gathered for the evening's charity auction. Nyeko entered the ballroom draped in a royal blue suit. The fabric shimmered faintly under the chandelier's glow, exuding an air of understated luxury. The jacket, adorned with fine stitching that hinted at bespoke craftsmanship, hugged his broad shoulders flawlessly, tapering into a sleek modern cut. A crisp white shirt peeked through the lapels, accented by a satin tie in a deep midnight blue that whispered sophistication. A silver pocket square and a minimalist lapel pin completed the ensemble, the only embellishments on an outfit that spoke volumes about refinement without uttering a single word. As Nyeko ran his eyes through the room, he glanced at Amina, who was at a far distance. She wore her role well, exuding the calm confidence of someone who belonged in such exclusive circles. They exchanged few words as they mingled, careful to avoid drawing any attention. Amina led Nyeko toward a corridor off the main room, gesturing subtly to a row of closed doors. Tadeo and his associates are meeting in the back rooms, she whispered, her face angled away to avoid eye contact. There's a ledger in there where they record payments for these so-called donations. If you can get a photo of it, we'll have the proof we need. Nyeko nodded. Can you get me in? Amina glanced around, making sure no one was watching. "Give me a minute to distract the guards." As she moved away, Nyeko took a deep breath. This was the most dangerous part of the plan. If he was caught, there would be no explaining away his presence here. He watched as Amina approached two guards stationed by the door to the private rooms. She laughed, exchanging pleasantries with them, leaning in and making just enough eye contact to keep them focused on her. With the guards' attention diverted, Nyeko slipped past them and into the hallway. He moved quickly and quietly, his steps muffled by the thick carpet. He found the room Amina had described and slipped inside, closing the door softly behind him. The room was dimly lit, furnished with dark leather chairs and a polished mahogany table. On the table was the ledger, a thick, leather-bound book with handwritten entries. Nyeko flipped it open, his heart pounding as he scanned the contents. The entries were written in code, but he could make out enough. Names, numbers, sums far too large to be genuine donations. He pulled out his phone, snapping pictures of the pages as quickly as he could, knowing every second counted. Just as he finished, he heard footsteps in the hallway. Nyeko's mind raced as he shoved the ledger back into its place, looking for a way out. The footsteps grew louder, stopping just outside the door. He held his breath, stepping into the shadows near a heavy curtain. The door creaked open, and he saw the tall, broad-shouldered figure of Omari Tadeo step inside. Tadeo paused, his gaze sweeping over the room, his brow furrowing slightly. For a moment, Nyeko feared he'd been spotted. But then, Tadeo turned away, distracted by his phone vibrating in his hand. Nyeko waited, every nerve tense, until Tadeo finally left, shutting the door behind him. Nyeko exhaled, later slipping back into the hallway and making his way toward the exit as quickly and inconspicuously as possible. He managed to use the elevator to access the main room of the residences. He found Amina waiting for him in the main room. Her face was composed, but he saw relief flash in her eyes when he approached, keeping his expression neutral as he continued mingling. As he made his way toward the exit, Tadeo's eyes caught Nyeko's. In a heartbeat, Nyeko felt the intensity of that stare, and he could have sworn Tadeo's eyes narrowed in suspicion. But then, Tadeo turned away, shifting his attention to another guest. Once he was outside, Nyeko exhaled deeply, his shoulders sagging in relief. As he was composing himself to leave, Amina appeared adjacent to him. He whispered, "We did it, and we have everything we need." Amina gave a small smile. "Get this to your people and do your thing. It's time to bring Tadeo's empire to its knees. And I get my freedom back." She quickly disappeared from in front of him like a gust of wind. Monsters of Kampala. Executive producers, Koi Koi Narrations and Creative Nerd Communications.